We had two important debates this week, one national and one right here for representative from New York's 22nd Congressional District. We'll start with that one. Democrat John Mannion is challenging the incumbent first-term Republican Brandon Williams. The contest is one of the most closely watched races in the country, with control of the House at stake. During this first of four debates, they fought over abortion, bail reform, and taxes. Luke, did either do enough to get a leg up in this election?
No, I don't think the debate will be super impactful. Like you said, it's one of many. It was relatively uneventful. What happened was pretty much what we expected in terms of what both sides said. Two things did stand out to me, though. I think on the Democratic side, I think Senator Mannion, being a state legislator, I think is something that's going to serve him well. He was able to speak to his record in a way that we haven't seen candidates be able to do on the Democratic side in this area. You think of Francis Knoll or Dana Balter. He's coming from a stronger position there, and he's a bit pugnacious, so he certainly demonstrated he's not going to be pushed around at all. And so the last time the Democrats won in NY22 was with Anthony Brindisi, who's a state legislature. So that's one thing that stood out to me. On the other side, I think Representative Williams, I was a little confused at the direction of this campaign. The ground has shifted under him. This is the Democratic district, and his style is different than Claudia Tenney, longtime NY22 representative, but the substance of what he was saying, he was basically talking to a Republican audience as to why the Biden administration is bad and why less government is good. And I just don't understand who's going to support him in this district aside from your diehard Republicans, and he needs to go beyond that to win.
Yeah, except for the fact that the district does, in fact, lean Democrat, although it has a Republican incumbent. I'd say that this was a remarkably predictable debate, that neither of them said anything that one would not have expected of both of these candidates. On abortion, Mannion said that he supports, the right to choose, and Williams, of course, said that he supports life, except in the instance of rape, incest, and when the life of the mother is at stake. On the inflation question, certainly Williams blamed the Biden administration. Mannion, on the other hand, said that it had to do with COVID and its impact on the supply chain. And you just go to some of the other stuff, the tax policy. Williams defended Trump's reduction of the corporate tax rate, although in this case, Mannion didn't exactly say that he would support the increase that Harris is proposing. So all in all, I don't want to say there's nothing to see here, but as I said, you could have predicted it without having watched the debate, which I didn't. So I actually saw really excellent recounts and transcripts of it. The only other thing I'd add, and I'd love to hear some other thoughts on this, is with these two candidates, neither of them has managed to attain the kind of name recognition, household name recognition that their predecessors on both sides do. I mean, we still remember Dan Maffei. You mentioned, Anthony Brindisi, and on the Republican side, Anne Marie Buerkle and John Katko. We're still trying to figure out who these folks are.
Right. Well, Williams, for the first year anyway of his term, and he's only been in office for one term now. Didn't seem like he was around a lot. And that's one of the criticisms. I want to ask you, Jenny. Nina just listed a whole number of the issues. What issue seems to most resonate with the voters?
Right. So it was noteworthy to me during the debate. There was some back and forth with regard to the question of Williams' stance on abortion. I am not registered with either political party, but I signal to both political parties that I'm engaged with them through little contributions so that I get all of the communications, especially the mailers. And one of the things I'm currently getting are mailers from the Manning campaign attacking Williams for advocating for a federal ban on abortion. And at the debate, we saw that that was something that Williams pushed back on. And I'm now starting to get mailers that are correcting the record that Williams does support abortion in certain circumstances. But, there is some I guess what it says to me is that for undecided voters or those who are at least independent, they are up for grabs in this debate, in this election. And so both parties see this as an important wedge issue to try to draw voters to them.
Tara?
One of the things that surprised me about the debate was the economic discussion. And to a certain extent, how little of the debate really did deal with Central New York. It mainly dealt with national issues. And one of the things that I believe it was Williams brought up, that he had brought millions to Central New York, but he didn't really explain how he brought millions to Central New York.
Yeah.
Mannion talked about, Micron, and you would think that would have been a place where Williams would have perhaps pushed back a little bit and said, well, yes, we do have this wonderful Micron deal, but how soon will it really impact all of Central New York? It's impacting parts, but not all of it. And so I was really sort of surprised that there wasn't a better discussion of economics in Central New York. The other thing that surprised me, and they were asked questions about poverty in Central New York, and we've discussed on the show the poverty rate here in Central New York, and and how bad it is. And it was almost, I would say, almost like a fluffy conversation. I was really surprised there wasn't more serious discussion about what is a major issue here, and certainly has an economic impact.
Yeah, I would say that I took a little bit more away from having read the transcripts, and one is that Williams was very clear in supporting school choice, and he has a history of supporting school vouchers, not the least of which because his own family has homeschooled his daughter. But I think sort of the fluffiness was on the side of Mannion, who said that he wants more funding for public schools. Well, who doesn't want that? But they were both, I think, relatively smart in connecting the importance of education to poverty. And if I could just say one other thing, I would love to see for the next debate more conversation about who they are as individuals, because we already know they're both going to toe the party line. And I had an opportunity to hear Williams at a local church, and I was just really taken back by his presentation of himself, of his beliefs, and how just sort of sincere he seemed. So I'd like to see more of that besides them just saying what we expect them to say.